There's a secret that history's greatest conquerors knew, but that our culture of anxiety and urgency has completely forgotten. It's not about working more hours. It's not about being more aggressive. It's not about forcing results. It's exactly the opposite. The most successful, most magnetic, most fulfilled people you know have something in common: a deep tranquility that attracts everything they desire without apparent effort. While the world runs in desperate circles, they remain motionless like stones in the center of a furious river, and the universe conspires in their favor. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover 5 Stoic philosophical truths about why calmness isn't just pleasant, but is literally the greatest power of conquest that exists. And at the end, you'll understand why your agitation is pushing away exactly what you most desire. The ancient Greeks had a word that changed lives: Ataraxia. It literally means absence of disturbances, a state of unshakable serenity where nothing external can agitate your inner peace. But pay attention, because most people get this wrong. Ataraxia isn't about being cold, unfeeling, or disconnected. It's not about not feeling emotions. It's about not being enslaved by them. It's about having emotions without them having you. Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that tranquility is the natural state of the wise human being. It's not something you achieve eventually after conquering everything. It's the very tool that allows you to conquer. Think about this. When you're agitated, anxious, desperate for results, what happens to your ability to think clearly? It evaporates. Your vision narrows. You can only see the problem immediately in front of you, and all the opportunities in the peripheries of your field of vision disappear. But when you're deeply tranquil, something magical happens. Your perception expands. You see connections that others don't see. You notice opportunities that pass invisible to agitated minds. It's like the difference between trying to read a book while someone violently shakes you versus reading in absolute peace. The information is the same, but your ability to process it is completely different. The Stoics understood that life is essentially a game of decisions, and the quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life. When Marcus Aurelius governed the Roman Empire, he faced decisions that affected millions of lives: wars, plagues, betrayals, conspiracies. And in the middle of all this chaos, he maintained a tranquility that impressed even his enemies. Why? Because he knew that a decision made in agitation is almost always a bad decision. But a decision made in calmness, after serene observation of all angles, is generally wise. Here's what our modern culture doesn't understand. Urgency is not the same as importance. Most things that make you agitated aren't really urgent. Your brain is just addicted to cortisol and adrenaline, confusing agitation with progress. But real progress, true conquest, comes from the mind that can see with clarity. And clarity only exists in tranquility. When you develop ataraxia, you're not renouncing the world. You're positioning yourself to conquer it much more effectively. Marcus Aurelius wrote something in his personal meditations that should be engraved in every person's mind. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. He wasn't talking about superficial positive thinking. He was revealing a profound law of human existence. You become what you consistently think and feel, and more importantly, you attract what you are. There's a social physics that works exactly like real physics. Similar frequencies attract each other. When you're in a state of constant agitation, anxiety, desperation, you're vibrating at a low and chaotic frequency. And what do you attract? Chaotic situations, unstable people, opportunities that crumble, relationships that drain energy. It's not mysticism. It's observable pattern. Think about the people you know who are always in drama, always facing crises, always complaining that nothing works for them. Observe their energy. They're constantly agitated, reacting, attacking, defending, in permanent survival mode. And this state perpetuates more of the same. It's a vicious cycle. Now think about the people you know who seem to have inexplicable luck. Doors open for them. Opportunities appear. People want to help them. They don't seem to be frantically striving, but they accomplish more than those who are in constant battle. What's their secret? Fundamental tranquility. They may be working hard, but there's a serenity underneath. And that serenity is like a lighthouse that attracts everything they need. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago. They taught that when you cultivate inner peace, you naturally attract outer peace. When you cultivate mental abundance, you attract material abundance. Not because the universe is magical, but because a tranquil mind makes better decisions, communicates more clearly, inspires more confidence, and naturally gravitates toward opportunities while agitated minds push them away with their desperate energy. There's a reason why desperate people rarely get what they seek. Desperation is repellent. Have you noticed how when you're desperate for a job, you can't get one? But when you already have a job and are tranquil, offers appear. When you're desperate for a relationship, you push people away. But when you're complete in yourself, tranquil, people are attracted to you. This isn't coincidence. It's the Stoic law of attraction in action. Seneca said that the wise man lives as if he had all the time in the world, while the fool lives as if time is running out. One attracts possibilities, the other attracts scarcity. One operates from tranquil abundance, the other from desperate lack. And the universe, or social and psychological reality, responds accordingly. Seneca made a statement that seems paradoxical until you understand it deeply. The greatest empire is empire over oneself. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was revealing the greatest power a human being can have. The capacity to not react impulsively. The capacity to maintain your composure when everything around you is trying to destabilize you. Think about all the important conquests in your life that you seek. A better relationship. A more successful career. Lucrative businesses. Respect and influence. All of these things have something in common. They involve other people. And here's the secret that transforms everything. The person who maintains calmness controls the situation. Always. In a negotiation, whoever gets agitated loses. Whoever demonstrates desperation gives all power to the other side. But whoever maintains serene tranquility, who can wait, who doesn't react to every provocation, that person is in absolute control. Not because they're manipulating, but because they're not being manipulated. They maintain their center while others lose theirs. In relationships, the dynamic is the same. When someone provokes you and you react explosively, who's in control? The other person. They made you dance to their tune, but when you can receive provocation, process it calmly, and respond consciously instead of reacting automatically, you maintain your power. You choose how the interaction will unfold. The Stoics were obsessed with this distinction between reaction and response. Reaction is automatic, unconscious, driven by unexamined emotions. Response is conscious, deliberate, driven by values and reason. Animals react. Wise human beings respond. And the difference between the two determines who conquers and who is conquered. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire that constantly tested him. Senators conspiring, generals betraying, peoples rebelling. He had power to destroy anyone who challenged him, but he rarely used brute force. Why? Because he understood that real power isn't about dominating through force. It's about maintaining your tranquil presence so solid that others naturally align with you. Sun Tzu, though from a different tradition, said something the Stoics would completely agree with. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Maximum conquest is that where you win without conflict, where your mere calm and centered presence makes others recognize your superiority without need for aggressive demonstration. Think about the leaders you most respect. Are they constantly agitated, reacting, losing their calm? Or is there a quality of serene presence in them that inspires confidence? The answer is obvious. Tranquil leaders inspire loyalty. Agitated leaders inspire fear, and fear never generates lasting conquest. The Stoics had a view of time that's radically different from our instant gratification culture. They saw patience not as passive virtue, but as active long-term strategy. And here's the secret that separates real conquerors from people who just seem busy. Tranquil patience beats agitated hurry. Always. Seneca observed that most people waste their lives on fabricated urgencies. They run, agitate themselves, stress themselves, trying to force immediate results. And what do they achieve? Mediocre results that crumble quickly because they were built on weak foundations. But the person who can maintain tranquility while building slowly, solidly, patiently, that person creates conquests that last generations. Think about nature. A tree isn't in a hurry, but it always gets there. It doesn't force its growth in anxiety. It simply grows, tranquilly, day after day, year after year, and eventually becomes an imposing force that nothing can shake. The largest sequoias are thousands of years old. They were never in a hurry, and they're the most impressive things that exist. Marcus Aurelius governed Rome for 19 years. He faced wars, plagues, economic crises, betrayals. And you know what differentiated him from previous emperors who panicked and made disastrous decisions? Tranquil patience. He could wait for the right moment to act. He wasn't moved by anxious urgency. He was moved by strategic timing, born of calm observation. Here's what happens when you act from agitation versus when you act from tranquil patience. Agitation makes you take the first opportunity that appears because you're desperate. Tranquil patience allows you to wait for the right opportunity because you trust it will come. Agitation makes you compromise your values to get quick results. Tranquil patience allows you to maintain integrity because you're playing the long game. The Stoics asked a powerful question: will this matter in 10 years? Most things that agitate us today will be completely irrelevant in a decade. But the few things that really matter require patience, tranquil consistency over time. Deep relationships aren't built in one night. Meaningful careers aren't built in 1 month. Real wealth isn't built in 1 year. But our culture sells the lie that you should have everything now. And this lie creates a generation of agitated, anxious people, jumping from opportunity to opportunity, never staying long enough in anything to see real fruits. They confuse movement with progress. But chaotic movement isn't progress. It's just exhaustion disguised as productivity. The truly tranquil person understands that great conquests take time. And they're willing to give that time because they're not operating from neurotic urgency. They're operating from tranquil confidence that if they do the right things consistently, results are inevitable. It's not blind faith, it's emotional mathematics. Correct actions repeated over sufficient time always produce extraordinary results. We arrive at the final and perhaps most profound truth. The Stoics made a crucial distinction that our culture of marketing and self-promotion has completely forgotten: the difference between being and seeming. And they taught something revolutionary. First be, then do, then have. The order matters absolutely. Most people live in reverse. They try to have things to be able to do things to then finally be someone. Have money to do travels to be happy. Have recognition to do networking to be important. Have relationship to do plans to be complete. And this inverted approach guarantees you'll never get there, because you're building from outside in, and outside in constructions always collapse. The Stoics taught the radical opposite. First, become the tranquil, centered, wise person you want to be. Don't pretend to be, really be. Cultivate these qualities internally through daily practice, and then, from your state of tranquil being, your actions naturally flow. And from those actions aligned with your authentic being, you naturally have the results that correspond to who you've become. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." He was revealing that talking about tranquility is useless. Being tranquility is everything. And when you're genuinely tranquil, you don't need to announce it. People feel it. There's an energetic quality in tranquil presence that's magnetic in ways that agitated presence can never be. Think about the last time you met someone genuinely tranquil. Not someone pretending to be calm on the outside while chaotic inside, but someone who truly embodies deep peace. How did you feel near that person? You probably wanted to be around them. You probably trusted them instinctively. You probably felt calmer just by being in their presence. That's the magic of tranquil presence. It doesn't need to sell itself. It sells itself simply by existing. When you're genuinely at peace, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. Your energy speaks louder than 1,000 words. The right people are naturally attracted. The right opportunities naturally appear, not because you're chasing, but because you've become a magnet through your state of being. The Stoics understood that real conquest isn't about adding more things to your life. It's about removing internal agitation until your true tranquil nature is revealed. And that tranquil nature is inherently attractive, inherently powerful, inherently conquering, not through effort, but through being. Marcus Aurelius didn't need to prove he was emperor. He simply was. And his tranquil presence, even in times of war, made soldiers want to follow him, senators want to serve him, peoples want to trust him. Not because he was aggressive or manipulative, but because he embodied something we all instinctively recognize as superior: unshakable serenity in the midst of chaos. Here's the final truth that connects everything. Tranquility isn't absence of ambition. It's not giving up on conquests. It's the highest form of conquering power. Because while everyone is striving, forcing, pushing, exhausting themselves in desperate agitation, the tranquil person is simply being. And from their centered state of being, they effortlessly attract what others unsuccessfully pursue. The 5 principles we explored aren't separate. They're facets of the same fundamental Stoic truth. Cultivate Ataraxia, unshakable tranquility, and you'll see with clarity that others don't see. Understand that you attract your frequency, and you naturally elevate your frequency through calmness. Practice non-reaction, and you maintain power while others lose it. Develop tranquil patience, and you build lasting conquests while others build sandcastles. And embody tranquil presence, and you become magnetic without trying. Conquest isn't in frantic doing, it's in tranquil being. And when you finally understand this, not just intellectually but viscerally, everything changes. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop forcing and start flowing. You stop fighting and start conquering through your mere presence. If this video revealed a completely different way of thinking about conquest and success, leave your like now. Subscribe to the channel to continue discovering Stoic wisdom that transforms how you live. And most importantly, don't let this be just interesting information. Choose to cultivate genuine tranquility, starting today. Because calmness isn't just pleasant, it's literally the secret of those who conquer everything.